Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Freedom Factor. I'm here with, well, if you haven't if you haven't seen, um, you really, yeah. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? Um, and that is what transpired within the last, uh, call it 12 or so hours, and that is Trump won. 2024. Trump won re-election. He's been elected as the 47th president. I think it as a libertarian. Look, I'll just let me just cut to the chase here. I voted for him. Yeah, I will get into why I voted for him and why I did not vote for the libertarian, quote unquote, libertarian candidate, Chase Oliver, later. But I voted for Trump. I'm happy I voted for Trump. What swayed me? I wasn't originally going to vote for him, and what swayed me was one, how he handled himself after getting shot. That was incredible. But the other part that swayed me is I think Chase Oliver was a terrible candidate. um, and I mean he was the way that they've treated him, the lies, the hyperbole, the exaggeration, them calling people Nazis for supporting Trump. It's just it got to be too much, and it was kind of almost part of it was a little bit of an fu to the left. Like, you know what? I'm gonna vote for the guy. Just kind of fu because honestly, I'm sick of it. The divisiveness. I'm hoping we can move forward as a country now. In light of Trump being elected, I don't think it's going to happen. But so we'll do a quick recap. So what actually happened is kind of hilarious. Because looking at the map here, 301 to 226. This is as of about I'd say about an hour or two ago. Yeah, was that 2 hours ago? So, yeah, Trump got the 270 he needed to win. Kamala performed terribly. I'm really shocked. I'm really happy, though. I'm really shocked, too, that Trump got Pennsylvania, South Carolina, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Michigan. That's huge. North Carolina was kind of a linchpin, and Georgia, too. People were talking about Georgia. I was watching the coverage till about 9:30, 10 o'clock Mountain Time last night, and so I went to bed. I think Trump was at like 220 something before they called Pennsylvania. It was right after they called North Carolina and Georgia for Trump, and I went to bed and I said, I hope I wake up and there's no like surprise like 2020, which I'll get into 2020 in a minute here. But yeah, I feel like this was kind of vindication for Trump and redemption. And I am not a Republican. I used to be. I will fully admit that I used to be a Republican. I'd say it's about 2008 is when I started to kind of realize that the Republican Party wasn't for me. It was the whole fiasco with Ron Paul. I was a huge Ron Paul. I still am huge Ron Paul fan. I really do appreciate Ron Paul and everything he's done. I think he should have been the presidential candidate in 2008, but I digress. That's the last election. Well, no, I voted for Romney in 2012, and I regret that. I abstained in 2008. But I voted for Trump. I held my nose, voted for Trump in 2016. I was actually quite impressed with some of the stuff he did. No new wars, that's huge. As a libertarian, as an anti-war libertarian, that's huge. I know it's weird because I'm a combat veteran and I'm anti-war, but I feel like I'm anti-war because I'm a combat veteran because I've been there, done that. But yeah, so Trump was anti-war and I was down with that. No new wars, that's pretty huge. I hope that we can end the conflict in Ukraine. I hope Trump does that. But let me start off by saying, because some people have said it, and I'm really kind of pissed. A friend of mine, his wife shared this like meme. I'm not gonna share it here because it's stupid. But it's this woman. I don't even know what it's from. It's from something. I'm assuming like House of Dragon, maybe, because I don't recognize this person, but it sounds like something from the Game of Thrones universe. But they said men would sooner put the realm to the torch than see a woman ascend the Iron Throne. No, I have some bad news. All you people thinking that it was, you know, misogyny or the patriarchy, no. It, Kamala didn't lose because she's a woman. I'm going to tell you that right now. Kamala did not lose because she's a woman. Kamala lost because she was awful. Plain and simple. Look, you can say what you want to say. Joe Biden, who's running America right now? Because it's not Joe Biden. Joe Biden Joe Biden doesn't know where Joe Biden is right now. Okay? So here's the deal. They push Joe Biden aside and they say, the VP, Kamala, is in. She wasn't voted on. I'm pretty sure if it was up to a vote, she wouldn't have gotten the nomination. And it's not because she's a woman, it's because she sucks. She's awful. She came in, she had no policy to speak of. She essentially is nothing. She like doesn't even exist. She's not a real person, it seems like. Because she doesn't. I've never seen anybody say so many words without actually having any substance to them. She talks and she's awkward. I won't play him because I don't want this to be a super heavy, long, involved thing. But holy cow. She's awkward. She talks a lot and doesn't really say anything. And it's really embarrassing. It's like, how did this woman ascend to this point in her career, in her profession as a politician, and people not go like, all the offices that she held, she got elected as the Attorney General of California, and let's not mince words. She locked people up for minor offenses like marijuana possession, which is, and her whole comments about like, with the stroke of a pen. She says the quiet part out loud. That's tyranny talk. That is the speech of a tyrant. She could, with the stroke of a pen, she could ruin someone's life. Even by dismissing the charges, they still got fired from their job because they got charged with a crime and had to go through the court and all that. That is evil. This woman would have been a disaster for America. And look, it's not because she's a woman. Plain and simple. At the time, in 2020 when they had the whole running, I was like, look, I'm probably going to end up voting for Trump because, yeah, he's just, the least worst of any of the options. But honestly, if it had been Tulsi Gabbard, there's a chance I might have, I don't know. I hate to postulate and think, but today, I really like Tulsi Gabbard. Listening to her whole transition from becoming, from leaving the Democrat, and she was a very moderate Democrat. She was one of the few Democrats I actually kind of respected that wasn't like foaming at the mouth, like the Nancy Pelosi's, the very left-leaning Kamala Harris's out there, the AOC's. God, you want to talk about stupid? AOC. I think AOC and Kamala Harris are in a fight for who's dumber. But yeah, so Tulsi was one of the few, the few Democrats I respected that I could actually kind of, get behind. Because, one, she served her country honorably. I know that's a little bit of my veteran bias, but she's got some. She's moderate. She's not like screaming far left crazy psychopath like a lot of the people out there are. Like Kamala. Kamala was a very left leaning. She's a very left leaning psycho, but she just like go back and watch the Brett Baer interview. The woman doesn't defend herself. She just blames Trump. She ran on the premise of she's not Trump. She had no real solid policy platforms at all, except she's not Trump and abortion, and that's frankly disgusting. That's one of the reasons I couldn't get behind Kamala, and I'm just going to come out and say it. It's one of the reasons I have no respect for Tim Walz. Her running mate is a piece of garbage, and I don't mean that as an enduring like Joe Biden garbage comment. No, I mean Tim Walz is a garbage human being, and I have zero fucking respect for him. Stolen valor. He lied about his military service. He had. I mean, I could do a whole video on Tim Walz. Why I can't stand him. Why I just can't stand him. I would not vote for him if you put a gun to my head. You'd have to pull the trigger. I wouldn't cast a vote for Tim Walz. I wouldn't vote for him to be frickin' dog catcher. He's just a garbage human being. He lied about a lot of things, and he's a coward. So yeah, I'm happy Trump won. I wouldn't say I'm a Trump fan. I voted for him, reluctantly 3 times. I did not support. You can ask anybody in my family. I did not support Trump in the 2016 primaries. I was not on the Trump train. I was running beside it eventually, but I was not on it. 2020, I voted for Trump because, I was pragmatic. I knew Joe Jorgensen wasn't going to win. Gary Johnson was such a weak candidate. I can't believe he got so many. He was just weak. And then Chase Oliver was not, and I'll get into it in a minute, but I'm happy Trump won. And I voted for him because of the economy, energy policy, foreign policy. I think, yeah, okay, tariffs I'm not really in agreement with because tariffs are just tax of a different name. And, anybody who leans libertarian, taxation is theft. Just saying. Really, it's not, though. Taxation's not theft because theft is just so overt. Taxation's extortion. Pay us protection money, or we'll lock you up. We'll put you in this room where you'll get beaten and assaulted all the time. Yeah, no, thank you. That's extortion. You have no choice. And like like the good saying goes, if it's not voluntary, it's tyranny. But anyway, so I don't agree with Trump's like super, fervent, foaming at the mouth tariff talk. Reduction in government regulation and the fact that he wants Elon Musk part of his team, and the fact that Elon Musk had positive feedback from Ron Paul is just awesome. If Ron Paul actually does, if Elon and Ron meet up and start working on government efficiency and start cutting some of the fat off of our overinflated, fat, bloated, ineffective, wasteful government, I'm there 100%. The other thing I'm a little reluctant on is RFK. Look, I've never been a fan of RFK. My mother remembers when JFK got killed. She was a teenager when that happened. And, JFK was like probably the last great Democrat president in history. But RFK, I'm very reluctant to jump on board with this idea. I like the Make America Healthy Again from the standpoint that pull the crap out of our foods. We have so many overprocessed foods. It's disgusting. And I think we should reduce the crap that's in our food. All the dyes, I won't get into a long drawn out thing about it, but all the dyes that are in food is really bad for us. I've been reading about recently Red 40 that's huge in a lot of our foods. You know, like if you were to look at the ingredients on Fruit Loops in America versus Fruit Loops that are sold in Canada and Europe, the ingredients are completely different. There's so less crap in the stuff that's sold abroad than what's in our food in America. And the fact that there are a lot of substances out there in food that are straight up banned in Europe that are perfectly legal here in America. And it's disgusting. It's so unhealthy. Red 40, I read a thing, Red 40 does some stuff to your brain and it harms kids and their development of their brain. I'm all for it. If RFK helps to plan some sort of regulatory thing for the FDA where they like ban a lot of these substances that go into our food and our kids' food, I'm all for it. But thing I really am kind of leery of with RFK is his extreme anti-vax stance. The whole, and I invite you to check this out. Look this up. What happened in Samoa with the measles outbreak and his involvement with that is very troubling. I think, look, I am not anti-vax. I'm anti-COVID vax because, you know, that I won't get into that because that's, but there are some, I'll say this, there's some good vaccines out there. I have the MMR when I was a kid because measles is horrible. But the whole like controversy around RFK, he just to give you the broad strokes so you don't have to Google it too much. If you want to, you can. It's terrifying and interesting. But RFK convinced the Samoan government to stop vaccinating for measles. There was a measles outbreak. RFK said that the vaccine does more harm than good, and like something like the numbers kind of fluctuate. 70 to 80 kids died because RFK. I don't directly blame RFK. The government listened to him and they think he's an expert because he's an environmental attorney. I don't know where you draw that conclusion that an environmental attorney somehow knows more than doctors about vaccines, but whatever. Pharma, you know, big pharma can be evil, but there are some good things from vaccines out there. But so anyway, like 70 to 80 kids died, and RFK played a pretty substantial role in that. So I'm a little hesitant on that. Throwing in the fact that Trump in his acceptance speech this morning, he talked about how he's gonna let RFK kind of go ham wild on that. He's like, stay away from the oil, but I'll let you go your own way on your other stuff. And it's like, dude, don't let him go too far. Put a leash on that boy and don't let him go too far into the weeds on that, because I don't think he's good for America on that aspect of like with the vaccines and stuff. I don't want him making all of our vaccines suddenly illegal and kids dying because of, you know, dying from preventable diseases and stuff that we've essentially gotten rid of because of vaccines. But anyway, so that there. I'm hopeful though. So moving forward, I really do hope, and you know, Harris speaks, Trump concedes. So it's official, you know, she is conceded. But like seriously, like I'm hopeful we can move forward. A lot of the reason I voted for Trump and supported Trump in this election, it was late. I will tell you that it was way late. But a lot of it, besides the FU to the left, it was also kind of because of how they've treated us. Like anybody who's not on their team, on Team Blue, it's really disgusting. They've been saying Trump is Hitler, Trump's a fascist, Trump's the Antichrist, which anybody who follows anything with biblical theory and all that, the Antichrist would not be as hated as Trump. Um, but I like just the vitriol and people people saying all this stuff um about how evil Trump is and his supporters are Nazis, and it's like, you know what? Just because you guys are so hateful on it, screw you. I'm gonna support the guy. And he kind of he's bombastic. Yeah, he talks a lot of trash. Yes, he talks out of his ass a lot. Yeah, he's not entirely honest. No, he's not Christian, or he doesn't follow. Look, I'm voting for president. I'm not voting for my frickin' pastor over here. Calm down. This whole like, how can Christians support Donald Trump, and all that is disgusting too. Like, don't no. Um, he's not a fascist. He's not evil. He's not a Nazi. He's not the reincarnation of Hitler. No, despite what John Kelly claims, which I don't believe a minute. I don't believe it for a minute that Trump said that veterans are suckers and losers. I know a few veterans who've met Donald Trump. I know a few police officers who met Donald Trump. He's not anti-military. He's not any of that. He loves this country. He loves the people who serve this country. Um, I could do a whole video on the whole draft thing, but I'm not going. I'm not going to talk about that now. I don't care where you stand on the whole draft dodger thing. Um, at this point, he I think I'm thoroughly convinced he does love this country and he wants what's best for this country, and I hope he succeeds. I hope he succeeds in his desires to make America better, to help this country, because we've been struggling for a few years now, and I'm hopeful that he's going to turn that around and make life a little bit easier for the common man in America. Because to be perfectly honest, you know what? Had Kamala won, I would be hoping that she'd be successful and would lead us to economic prosperity and good things. And I'm doubtful she would have. I don't think she would have been successful at all. I think she would have been a continuation of the Biden administration and their awfulness and their wars and their pouring money into the Ukraine and Israel and all this shit. Like, everybody else can run their own wars. Why do we have to be involved? And that like, I really hope, I'm hopeful that, hoping that Trump fails is disgusting and un-American. Everybody should hope that he succeeds. Everybody hopes that America succeeds, because if America fails, we all fail. You do know that, right? So I'm hopeful that Trump will do things to help this country. Look, I could go through all the policies that I agree with. I could go through all the policies I don't agree with. And real quick, just the broad strokes though. I agree with Trump on a lot of economic stuff. Cut the fat, reduce regulation, reduce taxes, make life affordable again. Energy. You do realize I don't think people realize this. When energy is cheaper, the cost of goods and services is also less. When energy is expensive, like when you're paying a ton of money at the pump, guess who else is? The guys who truck that stuff that you buy all around the country. The airplanes that fly, all the stuff around the world, the boats, the ships, all the shipping that gets goods from one place to another, that costs money. And the more that costs, the more that cost is passed on to the consumer. If it costs less money, then the consumer doesn't have as heavy of a burden. So, yes, I totally think that, Trump can do that, because of oil and gas. I like that Trump is open to the idea of nuclear. I think we really need to push for nuclear power. A great content creator, if you want to learn more about nuclear power and how it's actually safe and effective and very, very green, you know what the output of nuclear power is, right? It's water. I get it. Yeah, there's nuclear waste. It's spent fuel. It's radioactive metals that they have books on regulation on how to store it safely. I'm not worried about nuclear waste because they know what they're doing with it and storing it and, disposing of it properly. But no, really good content creator on that subject, on the subject of nuclear energy, is Kyle Hill. Look him up on YouTube. He is phenomenal. He explains it very well and actually entertaining in a very entertaining way. But like, nuclear power does not have to be scary. Nuclear weapons are absolutely scary, but nuclear power does not have to be scary. And I like that Trump is open to that idea. I like that Trump wants to explore it because, let's be honest, JD Vance on Rogan was spot on when he said that wind is a scam. It's it's the biggest pile of bullshit energy there is. And solar, we're not there yet. Plus, days like today where it's snowing where I live, and at night you can't get solar power. So what are you going to use as a backup? You know what we use as a backup to solar and wind, right? Most places it's coal or natural gas. So why not nuclear? Nuclear is super efficient. It's super clean, and it's expensive at the onset, but it's not over the lifetime. It's less expensive over its lifetime. But anyway, I'm getting away from the point. But I like the idea that Donald Trump wants to explore that. Bringing down energy costs, both with power and fuel, is huge, and if he wants drill baby drill is what he's saying, and I'm all for that because we shouldn't be importing a ton of our oil from other countries. We should be producing our own. We need to build more refineries. I think the newest refinery was like finished in like the late 70s in Texas. No, we need new refineries. We need cheaper industry, and I think Trump has the best shot of doing that. And I don't think Kamala Harris would have done any of that. Kamala Harris is, like the whole Joe Biden, just the continuation of Joe Biden's anti-energy policy or anti-fossil fuel, whatever. And I'm hopeful that Donald Trump, no new wars. He had no new wars during his first term. I hope that continues, and I hope we can stop this madness in Ukraine and help reduce some of the craziness with respect to Israel, because I don't want World War III. Call me crazy, but World War III sounds pretty bad. And like, really, so he's run on this platform of economic prosperity. Do I agree with this tariff stuff? No, tariffs are just taxes by another name. But a lot. I think he's going to do well with the economy. I think foreign policy he'll do pretty well. I hope that international foreign trade doesn't completely go too crazy. And I'll say Clint Russell does a really good breakdown of like how tariffs could help bring down costs, but also how they could also backfire. He breaks it down. He explains it a lot better than I can. But like, I'm hopeful that Trump really does a good job and is successful, and everybody should be pulling for America to succeed at this point. But moving forward, I really do think, like, I would love to get away from the divisiveness. I don't think we will. I think people are going to be, I think once the shock wears off, a lot of people are going to be very upset, and there's going to be protests, riots, etc., which really pisses me off. But hey, you know what? Like, I really do think that we could do better as people, and I really want us to succeed as a country and get away from this divisiveness. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green, Independent, unaffiliated, whatever. I want everybody to do better. And I just really want the fighting to stop. It's so stupid. I can't believe we're at this point where we're like just fighting over stupid things, like stupid things. And so, like, Trump is not going to make it impossible to be trans in this country. Trump is not going to He's already said it. He's happy with where things are now. What the Supreme Court did with abortion, make it a states' rights issue instead of a national issue, federal. And honestly, I think we can. He's not going to make abortion illegal in America. Plain and simple. He's already said he's happy with it being a states' rights issue. That's where he's been all along. So, yes, I I absolutely do think he's not going to completely destroy America. He's not a fascist. He's not Hitler, and I wish people would stop acting as such because honestly, it's one of those things where people need to just get over themselves and stop acting like it's just ridiculous. Like the the whole the whole thing behind the whole like Trump is, you know, gonna do all of these things and destroy America and all that is just ridiculous. And I really wish people would stop acting like that's gonna happen because it's not. It's not gonna happen. And so anyway, so moving on, I really do hope that Trump is successful, and I'm hoping that America, enters this new age of prosperity that he wants. So why did I turn away from? I'm gonna do real quick. Why am I not a fan of Chase Oliver? Uh, for one, well, here this is pretty funny. I I figure I'll share this because I found it on, I think it was Reddit, I want to say, but oh, I can't resize this. There it goes. So they said the Libertarian candidate is losing to the Green Party and a guy who dropped out of the race and begged people not to vote for him, Robert F. Kennedy. This is what happens when you nominate weak candidates. And so in this picture, it shows the lineup of the candidates and how many votes they have. We'll zoom in. So as you can see, Jill Stein has 600,000 votes. I don't remember when this was taken, but I mean, it was when Trump got to 277. So okay. But like RFK has 587 and Chase Oliver's at the bottom with 555. He's not going to clear 1%. Like that's plain and simple. That's not going to happen. And I think he's a garbage candidate. I really do. Why why I didn't support him? I watched the Libertarian National Convention, most of it. They did a live stream, and I tuned into it pretty much as I could have. I missed some of the stuff where they were kind of the candidates talking, and I didn't know much about Chase Oliver. But then the selection part where they were voting for, where the delegates were casting their vote for the candidate. I liked Rechnenwald. I liked literally everybody except Chase Oliver. I didn't really know much about him. And he just was, I don't know. Something's wrong with your candidate when he's on the verge of losing to NOTA, N-O-T-A, none of the above. Like, there were a lot of people who would rather have no candidate for the Libertarian Party in 2024 than Chase Oliver. That's embarrassing. That tells you you've got a weak candidate. And how he made it that far, I don't understand. So here's my beef with Chase Oliver. He's a leftist. He's a leftist posing as a libertarian. He's a leftist that happens to have a few libertarian ideas. No, I'm not gatekeeping. I understand that. Like, you're not a real libertarian until someone's told you you're not a real libertarian. But no, I don't think he fully ascribes to the libertarian principles. For one, and look, I know you can change your mind. I used to be a Republican. I still harbor some conservative values and beliefs, but deep down I'm a libertarian, more than anything. But like, he was a leftist. He was an Obama guy in 2008. During COVID, he wore a mask a lot and was all about the whole like, rah rah, look at me, I'm wearing a mask, which just no, you might as well just put on the shirt and you know put on your Harris Walls hat. Like he's just, ugh. And a lot of people like criticize him because he's gay. I don't care about that fact. No, I care about the fact that he's an LGBTQ plus activist. There's like, without getting too deep into the weeds and not getting too controversial, and I know that some people will be pissed off to hear this, and you don't like differing ideas. And look, I've been accused of being a bigot and all this other stuff falsely because, look, I don't care. I have no problem with gay and trans people whatsoever. It's the activism I have a problem with. It's the extreme I have a problem with. And I view Chase Oliver as part of that extreme. One, I think he is absolutely an activist. And that kind of, I don't like that. Like, I really don't like where he stands on a lot of stuff. The first thing that really bugged me, look, if you want to identify as something or what have you, please, by all means, be who you are, be who you want to be. Leave kids alone, though, please. Leave kids out of it. I don't think kids can make those decisions. And I think kids are, kids should be kids. I don't think kids should be making those indeterminate decisions at a young age until they're a legal adult. And here's where I had a big problem with Chase Oliver, is he came out and said that puberty blockers are reversible. No, they're not, Chase. You are wrong. Science disagrees with you. Puberty blockers are not reversible. They block puberty, and they completely and permanently change a child. Young girls are sterilized if they take some of these drugs. The other problem I have with the whole transition thing is how much bloody money is behind it. These companies that make these drugs, which some of the drugs that they use are used to chemically castrate prisoners. That's disgusting. That we're giving it to kids. That people are for giving it to kids. And so Chase is okay with that. And I'm sorry, that's kind of a that's like a big issue that I take with him, and I take with the whole trans movement and ideology and all that. That is, I think that's irredeemable in my book. The leaving kids and all that. His other thing is he explicitly endorsed federally funded trans surgery for prisoners. Look, what you do is you. As an adult, do whatever you want to do. Don't ask me to pay for it. Like, same thing with abortion. I don't think taxpayer money should go to Planned Parenthood or any abortion endeavors. And I did a video on abortion before. Check that out if you're interested. I could go on and on abortion. But do what you want on your own time and on your own dime. Don't ask me to pay for it. I don't think there's a lot of things I don't think the taxpayer should be burdened with. And one of them is transitions. One of them is gender affirming care or whatever they call it. I don't agree with that. I'm all fine with whatever. I'll respect, whatever opinions you want to have, whatever beliefs you want to have, and all that with regard to, being trans or whatever. I will respect that. Like, whatever. I won't hate somebody for being who they want to be. Just don't ask me to, pay for it, and don't try and change my language. So that's what I think. I just think Chase Oliver, and where has he been? Chase Oliver hasn't done a whole lot of podcast circuit. He hasn't done a whole lot of much of anything. I haven't seen much of Chase Oliver throughout this campaign season. And so I guarantee you most people did not know his name. And yes, people will say, well, that's because the Libertarian Party chair was working against him and trying to get Trump elected, which, whatever. Still, even if you didn't have the backing of the party or the party chair, you're still the candidate. So what are you doing? So I think, really, in all honesty, he was a weak candidate, and I don't think he had much of a shot to even break the 1% barrier. I hope one day we have a libertarian candidate that can do something, but I will do a whole top down, bottom versus bottom up video one of these days. But I'll say this: you don't get a libertarian candidate for president by just jumping in and chasing down the top spot. You've got to build a base. You've got to get people to like the taste of libertarianism before you dive all in making, having everybody want to support you. And that starts with your neighborhood. That starts with your community. That starts with, your local offices. Get a libertarian in there first. Get people used to libertarians. Colorado has some people that we've been getting in. There's mayors that are libertarian. There's been a couple of sheriffs who are libertarian. I think that's the way to go. You've got to build up from there. You don't just jump straight in and think that we'll get some headway in the presidential election, because the last few years we haven't done it. We haven't hit the 5% to get the funding. So I think we need more. We need to build up. I'm not saying we shouldn't have libertarian presidential candidates. I'm just saying don't be surprised when they don't perform well, when we have literally nobody in most higher offices who are libertarians, except maybe Rand Paul. Rand Paul is for the most part libertarian Republican, and we need more of that. Or Thomas Massey, who's also pretty libertarian, but that's really about it. I mean, you can't really say that there's a libertarian coalition in the legislature. I think you need libertarians in your county commissioners, your mayors, your city council, your state legislature first, before we can start really chasing down making some headway in the top spot. But I digress. So anyway, I want our country to get back to being united again. I miss the United States of America from September 12th with that sense of unity. I don't like the fact that something terrible happened, but really, I'm glad that Trump won. I'm happy that Kamala lost. I think Kamala was a terrible candidate, and I hope that people will stop. I know they won't, but I hope that people will stop with the whole angry rhetoric and talking crap about people with whom you disagree politically. And so I really do hope that we can move forward as a country and be better as a nation, be better as a people, be nicer to each other, and all that. And so I really do hope we can move forward. We can be united again. We can build each other up, be better to one another, and not let our political differences divide us. Do I think that's actually going to happen? Probably not. There's probably going to be another protest on January 20th, like there was in 2016 or 2017. There's probably going to be some meltdowns today and throughout the rest of the week, but I really hope that we can come back together as a united people once more. I hope for that. So I will close with this: a great quote from one of the greatest political minds of I would say all time, I guess, and one of the founding fathers, because I think it's a great quote, and I think it's really a kind of what we need right now as a country to kind of help bring us kind of back from the brink a little bit, and maybe kind of put some perspective that we are still one people, and you know, we don't have to be hateful and divisive. And that's this quote from my man Thomas Jefferson. I never considered a difference of opinion in politics, in religion, in philosophy as cause for withdrawing from a friend. So I hope people can keep that in mind, and you know, maybe we can move forward and be the United States of America again instead of the divided states of America, because obviously, you know, divided we fall. So thank you for tuning in. If you like this video, share this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out some of my other content. But until next time, God bless America, and hopefully everybody has a great rest of their day. Cheers.